So the one thing I need to try to get done today is I need to try to move this greenhouse. I've got it all cleared out. Everything's out of the greenhouse. I need to try to move it, but I'm going to have to try to move it by myself. So like I mentioned, I want to move the greenhouse, and the reason that I want to move it is I want to use the skid steer that Rick left here, and I want to kind of level out all of this ground around it. I want to make this nice and level, and then I want to turn the greenhouse so that the front of it is facing this shelter, and then the greenhouse will be running in line with that shelter. So it'll be a long line going right down the hillside there. And the reason for that is because eventually I think I want to make this where I keep the kinlet, and then that way I can bring wood in this end, run it through the kinlet, go out that end right into the greenhouse, right down the line. So this will become like the little mini firewood factory over here. So I got everything out of the greenhouse. Everything is either in Costco boxes or half a totes or in bags or a full tote. Everything is out. I just now need to try to figure out how I'm going to move this greenhouse. And I'm going to try to do it without taking it apart. I'm going to try to keep it all in one piece. So I have a plan. We're going to see if it works. So my initial plan for getting the greenhouse moved did not work. What I tried doing is coming in from the side, and I had some long planks on the forks of the skid steer, and then on top of those long planks running the length of the greenhouse, I had running perpendicular some more planks that went underneath the frame, and I thought I would be able to kind of just curl and lift it up, but it didn't quite work out that way. So plan B was then to come in from the front, and I was actually able to drive in further than I thought I would be able to. And then I did the same thing. I kind of put some planks going the long way, and then some planks going across the greenhouse, and I was actually able to lift it up just enough to move it, and that's all I needed to do. Now you might be wondering why I didn't just wait for some help, and the reason is because Rick was coming back the next day to pick up the skid steer because he was all done using the tractor, so he was bringing the skid steer back to swap it out. And so I wanted to get that greenhouse moved out of there, and then I wanted to try to level off that ground as best I could. My skills with the skid steer are not the greatest, but I think I was able to get done. I accomplished what I needed to. Just kind of clear out a spot so that I can get that greenhouse in line with that little woodshed. So then when Rick came back to pick up the skid steer, I had him help me move the greenhouse, and it worked a lot better with just two people to go inside, grab those long planks that I had running across underneath the frame, and the both of us were able to just pick that thing up and just move it right into place, kind of like a Amish barn move, you know, where they have all the people underneath the barn and they just pick it up and they move it. That's what we did with the greenhouse, and it worked great. So now the greenhouse is back and in place. I got everything set back up and moved back in, so check this out. So there is the old woodshed, and now right in line with it is the greenhouse. And it fits in there perfect. Like I mentioned, I was able to actually level this ground out somewhat. I did hand rake it down to fine tune it, but it fits great. And it actually, I mean, now it's not sticking way out here and is in the way. I have more room, and I was able to reorganize inside. I'm going to take you in there in a second. But there it is. There is the ShelterLogic Greenhouse in a box, all moved and resituated, reoriented in the wood yard. And so now I did leave enough room in between here. Eventually, if I set the kindlet up in this shelter, I want to be able to kind of have some room in between here to maybe put a tote if I need to, or put a sorting station that I can just kind of sort and clean the wood before it goes into the greenhouse. If you're wondering, all of these boxes are scraps and rejected pieces that didn't make the cut, the quality cut. So that stuff I'm not worried about putting in the greenhouse. But now, the big reveal. Are you ready for the new and improved Back 40 Mini Firewood Greenhouse Storage, Drying, and Warehouse Solution? That's right, I have added some shelving. I didn't think originally that shelving would work in here just because of how, you know, you've got a lot of space, the side angles up, but these actually fit in here. I have just enough space up there to slide a box of wood to let it dry. And yes, as you can see, I have been making some trips to Costco to get some empty boxes. These avocado boxes work great. They're heavy duty. They have vents on the side and on the bottom it's vented. So yeah, Costco has been gracious enough to supply me these free boxes for storage. So there is the new storage solution in the greenhouse. Now I still have these big racks, and I've got two in the back and this great big one here on the side. And so what I end up doing, and I think what's going to work best, is initially when the mini firewood is split right off the kindlet and I want it to get seasoning and drying quick, I'm going to spread it out in a thin layer, not like one piece thick, but a somewhat thin layer on these grates. So those two and this one. And then after a week or two, when the moisture level has dropped down significantly, or when I check it and the moisture level has dropped, then I'm going to take from here, and if I need to, put them in boxes and then store it over here. And so then that way I can separate out species. So we've got some oak, you know, we got birch down there, I got cherry on the other end. So then that way I can separate things out and have it organized over here. And the big grates are just to get that, you know, drying things out right off the kindlet once they're split, because I think they do dry a little bit better when they're kind of just spread out for a couple weeks. And then after that, once they get put in boxes, you know, I mean, it's still going to dry if need be, but I just don't want to get, like, when it's freshly split, especially like this birch was really wet when it was split. And so I wouldn't have wanted it in a box like that, because there would be a chance of it possibly getting moldy. I don't know. And that might all not matter at all, but that's just what's going on. My thought right now is to just use these grates for the initial couple weeks of drying. And then once they've dried down, I can put them in boxes and store them over here. And then from here, once I get enough ready, they'll be sent out for heat treatment. All right, so the Back 40 Mini Firewood Greenhouse has been moved to its new location. And it was a little bit of a challenge there, day one, trying to move this on my own. But then once I got the ground sort of leveled out and Rick came back, we were able to move it in place and everything worked out great. So thanks again, Rick, for letting me use the skid steer and for coming over and doing the dirt work over there, widening out the turn around the carport and helping me move the greenhouse back in place. So now that the greenhouse is there, you saw those grates are empty, so I need to get splitting up. Next on the menu, actually, I have more birch, and then we're going to split up that hickory for mini firewood. Hickory mini firewood. It's going to be interesting to see how those chunks that I just split the little side off of, I know a lot of you were saying you should split those in half, but I'm going to be showing you why I think it's going to work better to do that the way that I did it. Hopefully that plan works better than the plan I had to originally move this greenhouse. We shall see. We will find out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, have fun, and be cool.